This is breaking news.
That breaking news, President Donald Trump sending 200 California National Guard members to Portland, more than 100 already in Oregon right now. This news comes just 24 hours after a judge temporarily blocked the Trump administration from deploying Oregon National Guards into the city. Thank you for joining us for K2 News at 5 tonight. I'm Tanvi Verma. K2 has complete coverage of the deployment, the pushback from state and city leaders, and what you can expect in the days ahead. The administration did not make an official announcement about the deployment to the public, but Oregon Governor Tina Kotek said 101 California National Guard members have arrived in Oregon last night and that 99 more are on the way. They're reportedly staying at Camp Withacombe in Happy Valley. Here's the top 3 things you should know about the deployment today. 1, the White House says it is legally justified despite a judge's ruling on the Oregon National Guard troops just yesterday. 2, city and state leaders are taking immediate legal action to stop the deployment. And 3, a similar situation is playing out right now in another state. Let's get right to K2's Jennifer Singh live tonight outside the ICE building in South Portland. Jen, you have a lot more from state leaders on these new developments. But first, what's it looking like out there, Jen?
Well, Thummy, I want to quickly give you a show of what it's like out here. It has remained pretty peaceful so far, but we actually, within the last minute or so, just witnessed some sort of confrontation between people. You can maybe see down there involving people inside a blue car and the people outside of it. We're not sure what prompted that confrontation, but that was kind of the height of escalations we've seen so far today. And we have actually also seen a lot of cars driving by, waving signs and honking. And most people here right now are against the deployment of federal Guard troops, as California National Guard troops are arriving to Oregon. Oregon's Attorney General saying he plans to fight back.
Yesterday evening, governor receives notice. We receive notice. Our lawyers and staff get to work to making sure that we file, a second temporary restraining order today. And that also added California to the complaint to do so.
Now, I did talk with a few people who said they were out here before they heard about that news of the California National Guard being deployed. But I'm going to give one last look over to you guys. Traffic is being blocked right now. This is kind of the first time we've seen it so far since we got out here this afternoon. And I'll be sure to be sticking around, giving you any updates. It looks like more people are getting out of their cars, but we'll have the latest for you coming up in just a few moments at 5 o'clock. But for now, live in South Portland, Jennifer Singh, K2 News. Back to you, Thumby.
Thanks, Jen. See you soon. K2 reached out to the White House to see what legal justification it had for the deployment of California National Guard troops, and the administration sent us this statement, reading, quote, President Trump exercised his lawful authority to protect federal assets and personnel in Portland following violent riots and attacks on law enforcement. And it also says Gavin Newsom should stand on the side of law-abiding citizens instead of violent criminals destroying Portland and cities across the country. K2 sent a follow-up question asking what the, quote, lawful authority the administration is referring to. We'll update you when we hear back. And Oregon Governor Tina Kotek says she believes the administration's decision was an intentional effort to get around the judge's ruling. Kotek saying in part, quote, the facts haven't changed. There's no need for military intervention in Oregon. There's no insurrection in Portland, no threat to national security. Oregon is our home, not a military target. And Portland Mayor Keith Wilson echoing the governor's concerns, saying, quote, this action circumvents the court's decision and threatens to inflame a community that has remained peaceful. Mayor Wilson also said the city's legal team is taking immediate action and will pursue, quote, all lawful steps to enforce the judge's order and protect Portlanders' rights. He urged federal leadership to suspend any deployments that defy the court order. And now we want to highlight the timing of this latest deployment of troops. If you missed K2's breaking news coverage last night, a federal judge found no legal basis for deploying state National Guard troops to Portland yesterday. The judge issued a temporary restraining order pausing the deployment for at least 2 weeks. The Trump-appointed judge's ruling criticized the Trump administration's justification for deploying these troops. They said that it risked blurring the line between civil and military federal power, the judge emphasizing that the president's actions were, quote, simply untethered to the facts. The Trump administration has already filed an appeal. And today, President Trump justified sending California National Guard troops to Portland while speaking to protesters. Take a listen.
Portland is burning to the ground. It's insurrectionists all over the place. It's Antifa. And yet the politicians who are petrified. Look, the politicians are afraid for their lives. That's the only reason that they say, like, there's nothing happening. And you've seen it. The place is burning down, and they pretend like there's nothing happening. So we'll take a look at the order. We haven't seen the order yet.
Trump says that he believes Portland is in chaos and urged people to, quote, turn on your television, read your newspapers to see the situation. He also pointed to the recent deployment of federal troops to Washington, D.C. He said that transformed D.C. from a, quote, hellhole to a safe place in just 12 days. And tonight, we're also hearing from Oregon lawmakers who are upset about the deployment of the California National Guard. Here's what Oregon Congresswoman Susan Bonamici told our crews today.
Obviously, I'm extremely concerned and outraged by that. The president should be following laws, as everyone is expected to do in this country.
Ron Wyden took to social media in response, writing, quote, was there something Donald Trump was too dense to understand in the judge's conclusion yesterday that his quote, determination was simply untethered to the facts? And Oregon House Speaker Julie Fahey sent us a statement. It reads in part, quote, Trump's deployment of the California National Guard to Oregon is on the wrong side of the law. It's on the wrong side of history, and it's on the wrong side of the American people. And as we mentioned a minute ago, there was no official announcement from Washington that the California National Guard was being called up and sent to Oregon. That's according to Governors Kotek and Newsom. That was also the case in Illinois this weekend. Yesterday, the state's governor made an announcement about troops in his state being activated. Meantime, federal prosecutors filing felony assault charges against a woman who was shot by a U.S. Border Patrol agent in Chicago yesterday. The incident led to a heated confrontation between federal agents and around 100 protesters. And a live look now at Portland from the Standard camera. Here's just some of what K2 will be on your side tracking in the days ahead. Roughly 200 California National Guard troops ordered to Portland are in or making their way to Oregon right now. We're monitoring the status of those troops and if and when they'll be on Portland's streets. And happening tomorrow, a conservative influencer arrested outside the ICE facility last week will be in court. Nicholas Sorter is facing charges for disorderly conduct. And Attorney General Pam Bondi authorized an investigation into Portland police over Sorter's arrest. We're tracking that investigation as well. And in just under 2 weeks, that temporary restraining order on the deployment of Oregon's National Guard troops is set to expire. We're tracking that and the Trump administration's appeal over the case. K2 is on your side, tracking this breaking news as it continues to unfold. We'll continue to bring you the latest developments throughout the evening right here on K2 News and KATU.com.
From K2 News, this is breaking news.
That breaking news, a judge temporarily blocks the Trump administration from sending any National Guard troops to Oregon. Just hours ago, President Donald Trump ordered 400 members of the Texas National Guard to be deployed into Oregon, Illinois, and other places in the country. Thank you so much for joining us for K2 News at 11. I'm Tanvi Verma. It's been quite a legal back and forth. Earlier today, the president deployed about 200 California National Guard members to Portland. Now, a judge ruling that the deployment must stop. Meanwhile, tensions continue to rise outside the ICE facility in South Portland. That's where we can find K2's Jennifer Singh. Jen, how's it looking out there?
Well, there is still a pretty decent crowd with a decent amount of noise tonight. There's roughly probably upwards of more than 100 people out here tonight. And over the past half hour or so, a lot of the attention has shifted a block over from the facility where people on both sides, both for and against the deployment of federal troops, are there talking with each other. We have seen some incidents break out between the two groups. Now, like you said, things have escalated within the last 2 to 3 hours. So far, we've seen at least 3 people taken inside the facility and also saw pepper balls and other chemical crowd control devices deployed. We also saw an ambulance come and go from the facility tonight. Many people out here throughout the day say they've been coming out day after day, including one protester who was pepper sprayed directly in the face 3 nights ago by ICE agents when she said she was peacefully standing her ground. She says she was thankful when she heard the ruling today, saying deploying more troops would just incite more violence.
We have lovely people who are just happy and they listen to music, they dance, they have a good time. We're a family. This is not any form of war. This is just people actually exercising their rights. And, there has been violent protests. This isn't it.
However, throughout the week, we have seen numerous incidents between protesters and between agents and protesters involving physical and chemical force, including at least 8 arrests as of tonight throughout the week. Now, one of the incidents this evening actually involving conservative influencer Nick Sorter. Not long before the newscast, we saw video of an altercation where he was seen pushing an American flag through the crowd. That altercation also ending in an arrest of one person. Now, you may remember Sorter was arrested Thursday night on suspicion of disorderly conduct. I talked with him this evening before his court hearing tomorrow. He explains why he believes the deployment of federal troops here are justified.
What you have here is you have resources that are being taken up that could be used for actual federal law enforcement purposes. These guys, like ICE agents, Border Patrol agents, are being used to guard the facility out here rather than being out in the field, right? The National Guard should be deployed to guard the facility while agents are allowed to do the jobs that they're prescribed to do.
Now, Sorter expressed frustrations with Portland police, saying they had not given substantial evidence when it came to his arrest, and he says he plans to fight the case through. Meanwhile, Portland Police Chief Bob Day says his team of officers has been, quote, consistent and transparent when it comes to arrests during these ongoing protests. When talking about this week's arrests of Sorter, this is what Chief Day had to say.
And that's where we need to start bringing the temperature down, because we are seeing all of these different perspectives and all of these different opinions gather in this small one-block area, and then unable to manage that in an appropriate way. And so we have these acts of violence. We have these fights. We have these assaults. They are occurring. We are doing investigations. We are making arrests, and we are sending those over to the district attorney's office for evaluation and hopeful prosecution. And we're going to continue to do that.
Now, we have reached out to Governor Tina Kotek, and we'll let you guys know if and when we hear back. But to reiterate, people say they will continue coming out here day after day to promote their cause, and they say it doesn't matter how long it takes. I'll leave you guys with one more look outside right now, and I'll be sure to check in with you guys in just a few moments. Right now, it seems like people are gathering once again outside of the facility, so we'll check back in a couple minutes. For now, live in South Portland tonight, Jennifer Singh, K2 News.
All right, thanks, Jen. So more breaking news tonight. Less than a few hours ago, Oregon leaders responding to the federal court's decision to block the president from deploying the National Guard. Governor Tina Kotek saying in the joint statement, quote, "This ruling is another validation of the facts on the ground in Portland. It is also a clear and forceful rebuttal to President Trump's misuse of state's National Guard." Portland Mayor Keith Wilson saying in the statement, quote, "The court affirmed what common sense tells us. If Portland doesn't need federal troops from Oregon, then we don't need federal troops from California or anywhere else." Attorney General Dan Rayfield also responding and applauding the swift response from the federal courts.
You have amazing people at the Department of Justice that will work all hours of the week, the weekend, to protect Oregon's values. We'll keep you updated.
Attorney General also says in the statement with Wilson and Kotek, quote, the president can't keep playing whack-a-mole with different states' guard units to get around court orders and the rule of law. And while Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says no federal officials called him to coordinate, Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he did authorize the deployment. Governor Abbott writing on social media, quote, you can either fully enforce protection for federal employees or get out of the way and let Texas Guard do it. No guard can match the training, skill, and expertise of the Texas National Guard. They defend our country with pride. He adds that Texas still has thousands of National Guards assisting with border security. And earlier today, President Trump spoke about the first temporary restraining order ruling in Portland. Take a listen.
Well, if they put judges like that on, I wasn't served well by the people that pick judges, I can tell you. Things like that are just too bad. I appointed the judge and he goes like that, so I wasn't served well. Obviously, I don't know the judge, but if he made that kind of a decision, Portland is burning to the ground. You have agitators, insurrectionists. All you have to do is look at the television, turn on your television, read your newspapers. It's burning to the ground.
In that clip, the president refers to Judge Karen Immergut as a he. Judge Immergut is a woman. President Trump nominated her back in 2019. When talking to reporters today, President Trump pointed to the recent deployment of federal troops to Washington, D.C. He said that transformed D.C. from a, quote, hellhole to a safe place in just 12 days. And K2's on your side. Just after the California deployment notice, we reached out to the White House to see what their legal justification was. The administration sent us this statement reading, quote, President Trump exercised his lawful authority to protect federal assets and personnel in Portland following violent riots and attacks on law enforcement. Continuing, quote, Gavin Newsome should stand on the side of law-abiding citizens instead of violent criminals destroying Portland and cities across the country. We will update you when we hear back from the White House. And as we've been reporting, the Trump administration did not inform California or Oregon about plans to deploy Gavin Newsom. That was also the case in Illinois this weekend. Yesterday, Governor Pritzker made an announcement about troops in his state being activated. Meanwhile, federal prosecutors are filing felony assault charges against a woman who was shot by U.S. Border Patrol in Chicago yesterday. The incident led to a heated confrontation between federal agents and around 100 protesters. According to a statement from the Department of Homeland Security, federal agents resorted to defensive fire after a woman rammed her vehicle into theirs. The statement adds the woman was armed with a semi-automatic weapon at the time. Despite this, she isn't facing weapons charges. She was treated at a hospital and later discharged into FBI custody. And the latest deployment of troops came as a federal judge found no legal basis for deploying state National Guard troops to Portland yesterday. The judge issued a temporary restraining order, pausing the deployment for at least 2 weeks. The Trump-appointed judge's ruling criticized the Trump administration's reasoning. She said that it risked blurring the line between civil and military federal power. The judge emphasizing that the president's actions were, quote, simply untethered to the facts. The Trump administration has already filed an appeal. And since there's been so much back and forth, we wanted to learn more about the lawfulness of the president's National Guard deployments. So we took our questions to a constitutional law expert. Our questions are really quite simple. The judge's initial order blocked the president from sending in the National Guard into Portland, but does that mean President Trump cannot deploy the National Guard from other states?
Basically, you could say that he arguably would be complying with the letter of yesterday's ruling, but not the spirit of it. So the TRO, of course, concerned the litigation, which involved whether the specific question is whether the president could nationalize the Oregon National Guard for the purposes of protecting federal buildings in Oregon, particularly the ICE building. So here the president would be able to say, I'm not using the Oregon National Guard, I'm using the California National Guard.
Today, Oregon Attorney General Ray Field filed a temporary restraining order against the deployment of the California National Guard, and he prevailed. That means the president cannot send any National Guard troops in Oregon. That is, for now. And this is a breaking news story. We've been tracking it since it started last Friday. For an extensive look at what local and federal officials are saying, or a look at past press conferences, you can head to our website at katu.com.